I often hear in the federal market, people describe the federal market as $1 trillion market. It is not a $1 trillion market. The government definitely spends trillions of dollars, but in government contracting, that market that we're in, it's not trillions, it's billions. For small businesses, it's more like $750 billion, which is still huge, right? And not all of that actually ends up in the hands of small businesses, but that's the market, $750 billion basically. And for the most part, federal agencies, they buy everything. We hear, you might have heard this as well, right? What does the government buy? They buy everything. And that's a fair statement. They do buy pretty darn near everything. But the real question is, do they buy what you sell from a small business and where you sell it at? I'll give you an example. Somebody who's in our community, they do credit card processing. And that one's really tough because credit card processing is that idea of somebody having a station where you're buying something, you use your credit card, and they charge that 1% to 3% fee on top of it. And in this company, they process that fee for the government. And so they did, they took a percentage of that small percentage the government is charging in there. So they were able to be competitive. And the challenge for them, although there's these very one-off places where they could have sold it, most of the government processing that is done at stores, think about military bases where they're taking credit cards at the PX or at different gift shops or wherever they're taking credit cards around the federal government. For the most part, it went to these 3 behemoth companies, these very large businesses. And so, yes, the government buys what you sell in that particular case, but it turns out almost nobody is buying it from a small. And the idea is to try to get into that large, if you can, out there. And so today, I want to just touch on that same kind of idea. How do you look in and see if the government is buying what you sell from you and where you're at? So, think geographically as well. Sometimes the government buys stuff far away from you and not actually locally. Okay, so I'm going to break today's training down into 3 sections. We've got about 23 minutes, and I'm going to show you some of the tools that I use, the typical government tools that are out there. And so we'll talk about that. But I'm going to break it up into first, just why is it important? A refresher on why it's important to find the federal agencies that buy what you sell. Second thing I want to talk about is how do you define what you sell? I know it sometimes can seem like a simple question. It's like, what do you sell? Oh, I know what we sell. All right, but are you defining it in a way that relates to this search, about searching for what the government buys? And the last thing we're going to talk about is actually just go in and use the tools, and I'll show you where you can find the agencies that are buying what you sell. And I'll give you some tips in there. This is a 30-minute training if you haven't been here before. So it's a fire hose training, but it'll be good stuff. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for my newsletter, the Government Contracting Success Newsletter. This newsletter that we put out is very comprehensive around getting to know federal agencies and the federal sales life cycle, the federal sales process. So make sure you join us over there. It's a great place to just see what's going on. If you miss things, I try to put in a newsletter that sums content up when I post it out there. The last thing is thank you to those, I think it's like almost 100 people who registered for today's training. I didn't put out a lot of notice, so I just let everybody know yesterday that we have today's training and the training the rest of the week. But when you register in training, I really appreciate that, so thank you. It lets LinkedIn push the word out to more people saying, hey, we've got GovCon training. Come on over and join the group. It's also a great way for you to keep increasing your network. If you're registering for training, more people are coming into the community who are part of your network, maybe even people who are part of your network that you're not that close with, that come in. And so you're able to see them and engage them. But also, if each of us is doing that, we're growing our network out there. Okay, why is it important to find federal agencies that buy what you sell? The first thing, most importantly in my mind, is that you don't spin your wheels. There's this great, I should have put an image here, but get a mental image in your mind on this. But imagine a ladder on a wall, and you're climbing that ladder, and you're going from the first rung to the second rung to the 5th rung. You're climbing. It's a very tall ladder, and you're on the 15th rung and the 20th rung. You're really high up on that ladder. You've really gotten a lot of progress, only to find out that the ladder was against the wrong wall. right? So it's not just enough to climb the ladder. It's not just enough to be making phone calls and going to events and things like that, or responding to RFIs. But it's also really important to make sure you're doing that in the right place. Make sure that ladder is on the right wall before you start climbing. And so if I mix my metaphors, don't spin your wheels. I don't know how those two kind of align in a metaphor way, but you get my point, right? You don't want to be wasting your time. The second bullet that I put here is similar to what I just mentioned about the ladders, making sure you're knocking on the right doors. And so first off on that, the correct wall, you want to make sure your ladder's on the correct wall. Again, I guess I'm mixing metaphors the whole time. So there's a ladder, there's a wall, there's a door and some wheels. I don't know what we got here, but you want to be knocking on the right door, right? And right doors. And so when you place that ladder on the right wall, when you're focusing your efforts into the agencies that buy what you sell, now you're starting to tighten down on targeted marketing. The contracting officers, small business specialists, and the other government personnel, the industry partners, when the folks you start finding to build this target list of people you're going to reach out to and try to build relationships with, learn from, they're targeted into those agencies that you want to get into. And when you do that, you're able to start really developing relationships. You know, starting and building relationships is the key to success. And I used to see people talk about it all the time, but no one would talk about how do you build it. And you can get a lot of training on it, but one of the ways you start and build good relationships is build them off of each other. So that first one might be a little difficult, but when that person refers you to two people and those two people refer you to two people, now you're starting to build relationships off those introductions, or at least even off those borrowed credibility. Meaning if I go to Sally and I say, hey, Sally, I was talking with John, who's also in her office or in her world, she might go, oh, I know John, or I know his office. That's cool. Let's talk. And so we're building it. And so what I put here in that third bullet is that people know each other when you're doing your targeted marketing towards agencies that buy what you sell. If you're going into one, I noticed David Waltz was on here. He's in naval warfare centers. And so if you're talking to him about his center and talking to people in there, of course he's going to know. And of course they're going to know each other, and you'll be able to learn from each other. But he also has relationships with the 9 other warfare centers that are out there at one level or another. And so focusing your effort on that target agency enables the relationships to be stronger and allows you to build them faster. The other thing is, if you find the agencies that are buying what you sell and you begin to find the biggest agencies or the biggest spends, the people with the most money towards what you sell, then theoretically that just means there's more people for you to build those relationships. An example is if you've got an agency that's doing, $20 million a year in buying what you sell, and you got somebody else doing $200 million, and it's the sale size is relatively the same, then you might have a lot more contracting officers and cores, maybe small business specialists because it's spread across many offices. You've got multiple winners, industry partners that you can reach out to. So, finding which agencies buy what you sell and then maybe aiming for the ones that have a huge spend budget on that product or service is going to enable you to have a bigger pool of people to reach out to. And that goes with the last thing here, right? Is that when you find the agencies that buy what you sell, you're going to be able to find teaming partners. We call these 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏mates because one day you're competing and one day you're teaming. And it's totally cool. Like I've got customers that have JVs where some days they're coming together in their JVs and other times they're like, no, we got this with another partner. Okay, cool. Go for it. Right. And that's fine because in the government contracting world in particular, we all are okay with some days we team, sometimes we compete. But, we know the pie is big enough for all of us. And when you find the right agencies, you're going to find the right teaming partners. Okay, so let me give you some tips on how to define what you sell. And I've got a ton of training on this. I mean, literally 50 plus trainings in the last 2 years just on this idea of understanding what you sell. We always talk about having a clear, focused offer. And ironically, that's not what I'm talking about today. So a clear, focused offer is more kind of like a marketing pitch, right? I help these people in this way achieve this transformation. That kind of a thing, right? Help these people this way achieve this. What I want you to think about today is more than the offer or even more niched down than the offer. It's that, what does that mean? Like, what exactly are you selling? When you say cybersecurity, what does that mean? If we use cybersecurity as our example today, right? Cybersecurity, you might begin to think about the keywords that go into what you sell related to that big word, cybersecurity. So an example might be risk management framework, or ATOs. I think it's authority to operate, or authority to operate, right? CATOs, continuous authority to operate. Certain things like that. Even red team is a keyword. Blue team is a keyword for those who are in the cybersecurity world. The rest of us are like, what? I don't know what that is, and we don't need to. Here, I'm not asking you to look for keywords that are related to jargon free. Here, I actually want you to go a little jargon heavy, because as we move forward and we're trying to find those keywords in the government documentation, the government text, then we're going to be able to find it. Because here I'm talking about if people are searching for it just on DSBS, or they've got it in documents like in SAM, or in some of the descriptions in USA Spending and FPDS, you're able to find it. The other way to do keywords is to look at the NAICS code. So the NAICS code, making sure you identify which NAICS codes really relate to what you sell. And when you go in, you don't have to know this all the time up front. Sometimes you can go in with a keyword and your expectation is that you're going to see 541511 is the NAICS code. But then this keyword pops up and you see this these 1 or 2 or 3 offliers or outliers of NAICS codes where it's a different one, 541512 or 541519, and I'm just dropping NAICS codes, right? But the idea is you want to know what the 3 or 4 for sure are what you sell, so you can start searching that. And if you search for that, you start finding keywords. If you search for keywords, you start finding more NAICS. And the same thing with PSCs, product service code. That's more federal government focused, that PSC number. And so when you start searching in different ways with these 3 terms, if you will, keywords, NAICS, and PSCs, then you're going to be able to find more of the other, and then you'll be able to find more of where the government is buying your services. And it's really important to know this before you start searching for the agencies too far, right? If you have this going in, you'll be able to really find more of the wins. That's what we're trying to do, is where is the government buying? And that's what we call a win. Where's the government buying your products and services? And the last thing I put here is that when you try to define what you sell, sometimes you can borrow from those who have been around longer, 5 years, 10 years. You can learn from your competitors by going to their website, right? If I have a company, if I'm saying cybersecurity and I'm looking for a company like that, well, I'll try to find a company, or I'll just go, I know these ones are my competitors, or these ones are my competitors, and I'll go in and I'll look what keywords they're using. That's totally okay. That's just research. You're looking and go, oh, I forgot about that keyword. You know your keywords, but some of them you just don't recall. But if you're a cybersecurity expert, or if you're a elevator services expert, you know those things. Sometimes you just need your memory refreshed. And when you go to your competitor's site, to their website or to their profile in the Dynamic Small Business Search Tool, or DSBS, you can refresh your memory and get a lot more keywords, NAICS codes, and a PCS is harder because it's not in DSBS, but still you can find it. Okay, so that's how you define what you sell. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but if you haven't joined our wait list, GovCon in a Box, go join that, govconinAbox.com. We're rolling out a new web-based tool that's going to solve the top challenges small businesses have out there in the federal market. Those top challenges: getting in the door to meet buyers, finding teammates who want to work with you, and then identifying, pursuing, and responding to proposals or to opportunities you can win. So go join that wait list. I'd love to tell you about it when it drops. My expectation, July 1st, so 2 weeks. So now I'm tightening up the time even more. Okay, so let's get to the meat of me kind of demoing it. Before I go into the websites, I just want to say, when you're trying to find agencies that buy what you sell, there's a few tools that are really easy ones, not easy ones, but easy ones that come up on the list, right? There's some other ways you can do it, but these 3 are the best ways. Going into SAM and just finding opportunities they have out there and things that they have awarded in the past. And I'll show you a little bit on that. Going into FPDS. FPDS is where all the awards basically are put. SAM's a portion of it, but FPDS, for the most part, has all the contract awards that have been done out there. The upside over from SAM to FPDS is that SAM has all these documents that are related to opportunities. They just don't have a lot of opportunities. FPDS has all the opportunities, most of the opportunities, and but only has generally a description. They certainly don't have documents. And then USA Spending is basically FPDS, but just in a better way of seeing it. I want you to see it in different ways. And then the last one is follow your competitors. If I can find a company that's winning, I've done this in previous trainings. If you watched a lot of my trainings where I'll go in and I'm looking for administrative support services or American Sign Language, and I'll see something. I'll click on it. I'll find the company that's winning it. I'm like, oh, that's the company that won it. And then I click on the company name, and now I'm looking at all the opportunities they've won, and I can see, oh, they've won it over here and over here as well. And so there's a lot to the rabbit hole. And as long as you stay focused, saying the exercise at the moment is to find the agencies buying what we sell, then you'll be on track. So just with no particular planning around this, except for to show you how I would do this without, like, I don't have notes so I can make it look really spectacular. I like going in and showing you me bouncing off of a wall and go, oh, that's the wrong way. Let me go here. Because that's what you're going to run into. You're not going to run into this perfect laid out approach if you've never been in before. So here's what I do when I come to SAM. I go up to the search tab, and in the search tab, I want to search just the contracts, and pretty much that's it to start, right? And so here, I'm just going to start with cybersecurity because we talked about that. So cybersecurity. So first thing I'm doing, just going to type that, right? So this is hilarious. I'm trying to, I have a customer I support who does American Sign Language, and the very first thing that comes up on cybersecurity is American Sign Language. How is that even possible? But I'm definitely going to save that for later. I have no idea why it came up, but I can imagine, well, that's not true. I have a lot of ideas. I think it came up because somewhere in there it's saying you must be cybersecurity compliant, which is a challenge you just got to watch out for. So anyways, I can come through here and start browsing through and see, who's got cybersecurity stuff. I already don't like what I'm seeing. Like, the results aren't that good. Here's one that's cybersecurity transformation. I can look in there. I can see the VA, cyber exchange. So I can start seeing some of these. The problem with this is it doesn't tell me in a grouping. And what I want is to see it much more in a grouping. One other thing, I will just switch it over really quick, is I'm going to say, show me inactive, and the types, I'm going to try to make it a little tighter. So I'm just filtering down the SAM search, and I'm saying, show me the award notices. So now I can look at 377 results, and there's all sorts of ways to use SAM, but basically I can come in here, I can export this data, and I can look at it in a way that helps me understand, well, who's awarding? And the beauty is I can go back a little bit and see what the RFP looked like. What was the documentation that came out? But so this is one way to be able to look at it. The other way, and this is really the truest way, FPDS is the system of record for awarded contracts, right? And so in here, you're going to see it in a much better way, much more detail. So here, just same words, cybersecurity. And right away, one of the things I'm looking at is, okay, so I got 9,000 items there, right? And that's cool and all, but the data is not really good enough. What I don't want to do is to look back to the dawn of time. So I'm just going to modify this really quick and add in one field, this date signed field. And I'm going to say, show me from the beginning of the fiscal year, let's say 2020, right? And then to today. So now basically I'm saying, just show me the last 4 years or 3.5 years or something. Hopefully this will work. There you go. So still, that's pretty amazing. Actually, I would not have expected it to be 5,000 items. We went from 9,000 something to 5,000. But so remember, I haven't gone deep yet and dug into this, when you have to look at this more in a second. But one thing I wanted to show you is, over here on the right, when we talk about looking at agencies that have stuff, this is a very simple place for me to go in and go, well, what are they? Like this boards and divisions, that's a really interesting one for me. I don't know what it is, but it's got 400 opportunities. So I might go in there really quick just to see. And without spending a lot of time, let me try to click on that. So if I come in here, oh, so I'm assuming this is DOD. I missed that. Oh, it's DOJ. Okay, this is interesting. And they got a cybersecurity service staff in there. I don't know what that is. I'm an expert in government contracting, but I don't know everything. I know a fraction of everything, right? And so this one, I'm like, okay, let me go check them out. In fact, I have a cybersecurity customer that I know is got a little bit of DOJ, but unrelated to this. This is a great place for me to go to explore. Let me back up. So if I back up, though, you saw what I did. I just looked over here at the top 10 contracting agencies, right? So I can dig into that. When I go into the agencies, I can find teaming partners. I do want to show you, I can also just do it right here. So if I want to research my competitors, like I mentioned, I can start seeing my competitors. And I can look for small business competitors, but at this point, I don't really need to because I'm trying to find out who's buying what I'm selling. Let me back up 1 second just to remind you what I did. Oh, sorry. Come on. So right here, search criteria. I just came in and typed cybersecurity, and then I refined it by the last 3.5 years or so. And that's all I did to get the data on fpds.gov. And then I start looking into it. And so if I come over here, I'm able to see the count, right? How much is happening within these are agencies. If I come up one level, this is departments. I don't particularly like departments because it's too big, right? I want to know down below what's going on. So DOJ's got FBI and DEA and all those things. I want to know at the next level. Okay, so let me show you one more the exact same way, and I'm just tracking my time. So here, when I'm in FPDS, I can see a count. I can export all that. I can play with it in Excel. So there's a lot of stuff I can do with that. But here, I want to show you the same research or same search, but in a different way. By the way, let me pause 1 second. When I'm over here, you see how I did cybersecurity. Here's where I'm looking at. Let me just move it right there. So here's the PSC code, and here is the NAICS code. And I can start scrolling down, and I can see patterns. So these are, a lot of 541, et cetera. This is manual. I was hoping I would see something different. Come on. Well, all right, so it's not working for me. But I can export this to a spreadsheet. And in the spreadsheet, I will have 2 columns, PSC and NAICS code. And that will allow me to quickly, inside this 10-minute exercise, to quickly just go, oh, here are the top 10 NAICS codes, or top 5 is good enough, right? And the same thing with PSCs. Am I missing anything else? Or is it all under DJ01? All right, let's come over here. One last search here. I'm going to do the same thing. Say, just show me these last 3.5 fiscal years, right? And here I'll put in cybersecurity. Scroll down. When I hit submit, let me zoom this out a little bit. Okay, so this is an interesting thing because it came back with 19 million, right? It's it came back with 19 million because I didn't hit cybersecurity. I told you I wasn't operating on all cylinders. So it came back with 1,361, right? And the reason I like this is in a different way, but I could come over here to category and then hit sub-agency, looking at the awarding agencies, and I can come in and see, wow, the Navy's spending a good amount, $1 billion. I don't know what it is yet. I have to go in and look. But this gives me the start of who's spending that money, which agencies are going after it. So those are 3 different ways. There's a lot of other training where I've talked about this from different angles. Every time I teach something, I teach it from a different way. But hopefully those 3 tools showing you 3 different ways of finding the same information helps you. I just want to track on my time. So here's what I want you to remember from today's training. Of course, the government buys what you sell, but the key is to find out who within the government, which agencies are buying what you sell, and do they buy it from small businesses where you're at? If you sell cybersecurity and software development, things like that, we're basically a nationwide company. If you sell construction, you might be more limited to your geographic area. So the way you do this exercise, just remember, clearly define what you sell by very clear jargon-ready keywords like RMF, Risk Management Framework, as an example. And then make sure you've aligned that with NAICS codes and PSC codes. The second thing is go find the awarded contracts the way I just showed you. When you go in there and find those contracts, you can learn a lot about them, but you can also find the people who are buying. I didn't show you that one last part. Actually, I'll take 2 seconds. So inside of FPDS, on every single opportunity, you'll get somebody's name. Sometimes it's cryptic. So with my luck, sometimes it's cryptic. So I've taught this before, but in the top right-hand side of opportunities on FPDS, it has a contracting officer's name or contract specialist. You can find them, and that's bullet number 3. Pursue the verified buyers, those people who are listed in FPDS or in SAM or in USA Spending, which doesn't have names. You can go in there, find them, pursue them, and talk to them about how you can help them and when and where can you find opportunities that you can support. So if you found value, put thanks into the chat for the team. They work hard to put this together. Remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.